All right. Welcome everybody who has tuned in. We're excited for you. Another great Equipment Zone training webinar. And I'm excited. I'm excited because we've got new content. We've got Amy here, Amy Krulowitz, one of our industry leading subject matter experts on dye sub, among other things. Amy, how are you this morning?
I'm fine. It's afternoon here in New Jersey, so
Oh,
it
thank
is.
you. Forgive
It's
me.
a
How are
cool
you on
day for the
this
spring, but we're
on this
good.
fine spring day? I was going to say, nice. Well, we're lucky to have you. I'm glad you're
A
here.
little chilly. Thanks.
Well, chilly. What would we know about that here in Arizona,
I
right? So,
know.
well, enough about the weather. We've got an amazing opportunity today for those of you that are tuned in. Thank you for tuning in. We will continue to create as many training webinars and on topics that are both insightful and hopefully give you some ideas, some practical applications. And a lot of people, Amy, as you know us for a strength, and that strength is often associated with DTG printing, directed garment printing. However, we are known for more than DTG printing. And that's the good news, because today is all about dye sublimation, dye sub printers, right?
Absolutely. Dye sub is all about creating. I love it.
I know. And so it couldn't get more exciting for us. We got a great topic. We've got a great subject matter expert and a few slides to prepare. For those of you that might have some questions, I'm going to chat right here and say welcome so that you can see that. And then if you do have a question, please go ahead and type it into that little chat section on your panel, your dashboard here in Zoom.
Right.
And then if not, just enjoy the ride and hopefully you'll learn some great information. I expect you will. So let me share my screen again and say hello to those of you who are just tuning in, because today is going to be about dye sub printers and which printer is best for apparel decorators. So, you know, Amy, we came up with this idea when we were brainstorming on future sessions, and we know we like to sprinkle in some dye sub specific content. And rather than just kind of shotgunning out there and talk about the speeds and the feeds and the yields and the, you know, all of the technical specs, we thought we would help our existing base of customers that are mostly, not all of them, but most of them are associated with apparel decoration, and try to help them see that we have a full lineup of these amazing printers, and that one, or hopefully, knock on my plastic desk, one or more of them are a good match for them to help complement their business. So that's why we're here today, Amy.
Yep. You know, the whole line of Epson dye sublimation printers, it's a very interesting because they started with one basic model, which was the 44-inch model, way back when, I might add. And then what they did was they started adding to the line by bringing in the smaller ones and then bringing in the bigger ones. So now, you know, there's something for every business.
I like that. I like that. There's something for all of us, for every business, whether you're just getting started, whether you have a few years under your belt, or whether you're a seasoned veteran and have lots of experience. Knowing where to start really is, for some, it's overwhelming. And that was hopefully part of the purpose of our session today. And so that is our goal. Let me flip to that slide just for a second so people know that really what we're trying to do today, and Amy's going to be there for us. I'm going to try to guide conversation, but truly it's Amy's show. But to help understand our base, we've done a lot of questions, we've done a lot of talking, we've done a lot of research, but we want to help people grow their business. That's what I think, Amy. Yes, we sell printers. Let's not sugarcoat that. But what we really do is we put an emphasis on helping our businesses partner with them to help them grow their business. And so we believe that the apparel decorators that are currently associated with Equipment Zone, that we are lucky enough to have as customers, our job, our goal is to help you grow. And so today is a page in that playbook. Is that fair to say, Amy, or did I go too far?
No, well, you know, sometimes you do go too far, Jay. You didn't go too far this time. This is, you know, Equipment Zone. One of the reasons I'm really happy to be part of the Equipment Zone family is because we really do believe in education. We're helping our customers be successful, and we're showing them new avenues where they can make money and be successful. And let's face it, when you're successful, we're successful. So everybody wins. And that is the goal here.
It's a great attitude. Well, as our first shot of all of those printers, I'll share my screen again. We've got several. Maybe you could just walk us through which ones are which. Maybe go left to right, your left to right, what's on
Sure.
your screen, and give us just a brief, what model number is it? And I know that's not every printer in our lineup, but that's a pretty good sampling of what's there.
It is a good sampling. Well, if we're going to start, I like to start with the little kid because,
Okay, let's go right to left
I'm
then.
going to start on the right side. So on the right side, we have the entry level, the F-170, which is the great little desktop model. This is the get your feet wet model. I know you've all heard me say that before. Dip your toe in the water model. And we'll talk more about, what can be done with that. And, then you've got the 570 behind it. That is the 24-inch model, which is a little more grown up from the 170. Comes with the Epson RIP, which is fantastic software program. And then in the middle, you've got the basically the bread and butter printer, which is the F6370, which we just absolutely adore because it's a workhorse. To its left, you have what's called the F7200, which is a larger version of the F6370. So it will do everything the 6370 will do, but bigger. And then in the behind, you've got the big workhorse, which is a double dual printhead, double ink bays F9470. This particular one is showing fluorescent inks. So there are two models in this version. So there really is a size and an application for everybody's business here.
I love that. And I like that you've already emphasized once before that, the starting points for many are varied depending on the stage of their business, depending on their customer base. And how smart is it that Epson has pretty much something for everybody, a great dye sublimation buffet table for people who are at entry level, want to get started, all the way up to full scale, large scale production, and then everything in between. So
Yeah.
great
And
lineup.
if you're doing direct to garment printing right now, based on your business and the type of clients you have, one of these printers will fit very nicely for you to expand in that area. So it's not going to be the same printer for everybody. I'm doing DTG.
Perfect point. So let's take a little dive into some of these, and maybe we can talk about the two on the right, the both of those that are white printers, the F170 and the F570. I think of them as desktop models. I don't know if that's exactly accurate in terms of classification, but I think of them as the printers that most people are going to probably start with when, like you said, getting their toes wet, just dipping them in there. But let's set aside the speeds and the feeds and the yields and all of the tech specs like I talked about. Maybe we could do something different, and I'll show some examples of what they can do, and then you can talk a little bit about like, who is this for? Like who is it for, and what would they do is kind of, I think, where we'll be best helpful, if that makes sense, Amy.
Sounds like a plan. Let's do it.
All right. It's almost as though we reviewed this once or twice.
I know, right? For at least 5 minutes.
So I'm going to advance that slide back to some of these examples, and you can talk a little bit about the 170 and the 570.
Yeah, so these are examples of hard substrates, and these are really great for someone who's already doing direct to garment printing for a lot of reasons. First of all, they are small, so they fit beautifully for the F170, which is the 8.5-inch wide by 14 size format, or for the F570 for ganging up numerous images for different. So you want to make a dozen ornaments, you can make a dozen ornaments on the F570 by just pushing a button once. But what's nice about these items, especially the items on top, we've talked about this before, Jay, if you're in direct to garment printing and you're doing a job for a client, and let's say you're doing 20 or 30 shirts, maybe you're doing more, and it's for a family. So what you want to do then is with an F170 or a 570, make something in addition to the shirts you're providing them with, and say, here, I thought you might like some ornaments to go because I'm making Christmas shirts for you. Here's here's an ornament, hang it on your tree. And this is the same artwork that you used for the shirts. So that's a really nice idea. It's great to be able to make promotional items obviously to sell, but also to use as a way to enhance yourself more with your customer.
Yeah, I think that's a really smart application. And if I were to do it again, Amy, if I were to jump back and let's say I was a screen printer and a DTG printer, all in on apparel decoration, I would absolutely be eager to get my toes in the pool, probably more than just my toes. And I could see myself with an F570 pretty quickly. And for exactly what you just described, my thing would be, I would use this as a tool for my own marketing department. And I would have a two-prong approach. I would have a prospecting kit that I would be constantly making, like who am I going to go see this week, or who do I want to add? And also a client welcome kit, like for those that are new, that we've just done some business for the first time. And I would have that welcoming kit. Maybe it is like on the screen, a couple of coasters, or maybe a mug if we have a mug press, or something that says, we appreciate you, and make it, by the way, with their name on it, personalize it, and with their logo on it, not mine, so that they know that, you know, I'm paying attention to details and I appreciate them. Because the
Well,
reality
I do
is,
have a little story.
I've got, look, I still have mine. I'm
Ah,
not getting
there
rid of
it
this.
is.
You
You
know,
know, that's one of our first mugs that we made.
I know. I
For
brought in a few of those samples because these are things that I've kept that you've made for me. So thank you again. 2 or 3 years. Actually, it's been almost 4 years since I've had that mug. So why would I keep a mug for 4 years? Because it's meaningful to me. You gave it to me. So anyway, that's what I
So I'll
would do
tell
with
you a
it.
little story.
Please do.
So I was doing business with a very, very large textile company. It was a 100-year-old company. And they moved from Midtown Manhattan to Jersey City, to a beautiful brand new building, literally on the water. You looked out the window in the lobby and there was the Statue of Liberty.
Mhm.
And I was doing business with them for a long time. They're a very good customer of mine. And the person I was doing business with finally left, and he went to Florida for a new opportunity. And there was a new person that came on, and I had to meet this new person for the first time. So what we did in the office is we gathered some historic pictures of the company, because they were in business for 100 years. There were some black and white photos of their original building, of their original factory where they were cutting garments. And we made a set of posters for them with their own company pictures on, and their name and their logo. And so, of course, when I went to visit them, I brought them as a gift, and they were very appreciative. It was very nice. It was nice to hand them something that meant something to them.
Yeah, it's a great way to welcome and break the ice and create an emotional connection, so that it's not just a cold, hey, hi, shaking hands and so on and so forth. And the fact that you were aware of their history. So I think it's a brilliant marketing move on your part. And hopefully it led to a successful meeting and future business.
Yeah, it was, you know, I wasn't doing it as a bribe, so to speak. I was doing
It's going to take more than
it to
coasters,
show them.
Amy.
Yeah, I think so. I was doing it to show them I cared about them.
Exactly. I
And
love that.
that's the whole point, is caring about your customers. Yeah.
Well, one of the things
Okay.
as an example in terms of caring for customers and being able to do, as you said, those hard goods, I want to share my screen again, because there were a couple of things that you sent over that I thought were both A, beautiful, and B, can build on that, can build on something that a lot of folks maybe don't consider. So we've been talking kind of in a business to business or business to consumer. This leans a little bit more maybe to the business to consumer, where somebody's creating a fine art piece or a high-end photography piece, and they're able to sublimate it onto flat, hard goods. And the first time I saw this, I was blown away. You guys have amazing samples in the showroom in New Jersey, and I'm just walking around thinking like I'm in an art gallery, and it's our solution center. And some of the work, it's gorgeous. It's amazing.
These are the Chromolux metal panels, and they do justice to photography, you know.
Yeah.
So many times you hear people say, oh, that doesn't do justice. Well, they do justice, because
Well, yeah.
they give you such a crisp, such a sharp, such a beautiful image. What's interesting about, just jumping back to DTG for a minute, and a lot of the people I talk to, you know, they tell me how they're designers and they make original art.
Mhm.
And, you know, I say to them, I say, yeah, I say, you're not selling a shirt, you're selling your art. You're an artist, you're selling art. They go, yeah, I'm selling art. The fact that they happen to be wearing my art is also important, but I am selling my art. So why wouldn't you, if you're doing that, why wouldn't you now make some metal panels, photography for those clients, and add that as an additional product offering for them?
Yeah, let them know. They'll never know if you don't offer it. So I
Yeah.
love that. And we had an interesting comment while we were chatting that someone wishes that there was a printer in between the 170 and the 570. Who knows? Maybe someday, but for now, I think the lineup is pretty complete. So and Amy, don't forget that I also brought a few more samples. So this is printed on
Nice.
I guess it would be aluminum if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's the
And
metal. That's
it's a
cool.
little glossy and a little
Beautiful.
glare picking up there, but again, we keep what we like, right? So when I see
Oh, we
these
sure do.
items, yeah, it's not something I'm going to give away anytime soon. And so that kind of helps us with that starting or maybe entry level, the F170 and the F570. But if I go back on my screen, maybe we could talk a little about, I think you called them the bread and butter. Which two were
Bread and
these? Those
butter.
were the two in the middle or the two
Right.
in the front? Let's look at them
Yep.
again.
The F6370
That's the one right in the center.
right in the center,
And the
and
one on the
the
left,
7200 on the left. I call them the bread and butter because they're workhorses. They're good size, they're a large size. So they allow you to do things that you wouldn't normally be able to do with the smaller versions.
yeah, perfect. So let's take it from that point. Let's
Yep.
say we've tested the waters. We're having some success with our 170 or 570. And we're still cooking in our DTG business, and our apparel decoration business is growing. But now we realize that we have a place for these bread and butter printers. So what could we do, and who would be a good prospect for that? What kind of business or what kind of possibilities are there? What can you tell us about these two printers?
Right. So the 6370, now you're going to do everything that you could do on the 170 and the 570, but you
Good
can do
point.
more of them.
Good point.
So
More.
now you can gang up all those coasters. You can make dozens and dozens at a time. Or you can make larger metal prints on either printer. You can make 30 by 40-inch metal prints, which are sell for hundreds and hundreds of dollars. There's a lot of profit to be made in those. Now, I think you have an example, one more example of
Oops.
those.
Here they are.
Those.
There they
Yeah.
are.
So the
Yes,
one
I
on the
do.
left is one of my favorites. That's on wood. And, again, you can do multiples and you can really dial in the color also on these because of the profiles that come with the Epson Edge software.
Gotcha.
with it.
Well,
So-
guess what I happen to have right here, one of my favorite samples, and yes, it is actually on wood. And I think I've seen both on like a pressed wood, I've seen on bamboo, I've seen it on other woods that are treated, and the surface is already,
Pretty.
it's set up so that we can do the transfer right on that surface.
Right.
I'm not as familiar as you are with all of the suppliers and substrates, but the fact that it's possible, and it just has that rich, really cool look. So as soon as I saw this, I was like, I would be providing those for my clients as a surprise and delight to let them know. And I don't want to get too far off onto a tangent, but Amy, a lot of us are into social media, and we share a lot of our family vacations and trips and places we go to, and our pets and the things that we love, and the hobbies that we're into. So without getting too creepy, if I have a good relationship with my customer, I'm going to go snoop around a little bit on their Facebook or their Instagram, find what they're into, or find a photo that they've shared and surprise them with something like this, because it's gonna blow them away. They're gonna be like, hey, that's my family at Disneyland. And I'll of course be, in full disclosure, let them know, yes, you shared this on Facebook. I loved the photo, and I just thought, you know what, I want to make this for you. Nothing, just accept you look like you're having a great time, commemorate that moment. Here's this cool plaque, or here's this cool wood bamboo piece that you could keep. And now this is something that I do. But I just think those kind of connections and those kind of emotions, how do you not do that, right? That's my thing, is of course I want to make those people happy. My customers, they're the ones that without them, what would we have?
And you know, what's interesting is once somebody has this in their hand, then they're going to start thinking, oh, wow, I can get this and I can get this. And we've got a family event and there's a 50th anniversary party coming up
That's
in a big
exactly right.
hotel. And then, because here's the thing, if you don't know what you don't know, then you can't get the information. But if you know that these types of applications are available, it gets you to start to think about them in a different way.
It
So
sure does.
yeah, I want my shirts and I want my hoodies. And now, in addition to that, why don't I get 30 of these printed up so everybody in the family now can have a photo of the wedding couple?
There you go. I love that. And monitoring the chat here, Crystal Lewis asked the perfect question at the perfect time. Amy, is there a printer that would print on the coasters, the keychains, those hard goods, as well as some of the bigger projects like textiles or fabrics?
Yeah.
And if there is, what one would it be?
Yeah, so this is really what we're talking about right now. The 6370 would be perfect for all of that. As a matter of fact, if you see what's behind me here,
Oh, yeah.
this actually is a tablecloth. And this is dye sublimation. I ordered it online.
Love it.
And it's a perfect example of what you can do with the 6370 or the 7200 for that matter, because it's only 30 inches by 40 inches for a small table, but you can make them in larger sizes as well. And you could still do the tumblers and the coasters and the keychains. All of that can be done with the same printer. So yeah, that's the way to go.
I love that. And it gives you kind of that maximum flexibility. And we have all had and been around several of the samples in our offices, and the 6370 was something that it's not that big. It's a wide format printer, but it doesn't feel overwhelming, you know. So for somebody that's maybe new to sublimation or has not had a wide format printer, this is something that's a great place to start. So if you've had the success and you feel like, hey, this is something that I could manage and my client base would be interested in after you've tested the waters, you know, either or those printers, I think are a great place to start. And that's why I love it that you
So
call them kind of
nice.
the bread and butter.
What's also nice about these is when you start working with fabric, Crystal, and anyone listening, these printers have the high density black ink. The high density black ink is going to give you really, really saturated black on fabric. And it's going to be, the quality is just going to pop so much on that. So that's another reason when you move to fabric, you definitely want that high density black ink.
Speaking of fabric, I figured I would delight our audience with some adorable pictures. This is not me. Those are not my legs, nor is that my dog. But this is not going away anytime soon. I just have to tell you, it's because it's so fun. It's so personal. It's engaging. There are whole businesses. This is from a website called Sock Fancy. They're playing both sides of the you know, the grass is always greener. Well, they're on both sides of the fence, meaning you could order direct from them, or they do large wholesale work. So I'm like, well, why would I source this out if I could do this myself? You know, now I'm not saying I'm going to be an expert on day one and it's going to have its own learning curve, but we have several clients, Amy, that are doing socks, right? This is a big deal.
Yes. And they start with one printer, and as business increases, they grow to the point where they've got a room full of printers. And I will say, you think about a mate to a shirt. Is this not the best mate to a shirt you could have? I mean, here's a shirt and here's the socks. I love that.
I do too. And it's funny, and it can be not just a joke, but it can be timely during the holidays, or, you know, something fun happens with your team or with your family, or a family trip, a family reunion, a sales conference. Everybody, look, I'm telling you, I have a lot of high-end friends that are fancy people, and they think this is one of the most fun gifts to give people, because it's humorous yet useful. You're gonna keep them, I guess, is also the thing. There's a useful side of it. We all wear socks, or most of us do. But the reality is the fun of it, the emotion of it. And so, speaking of that fun and that emotion, I can't wait to share my next screen, because again, getting into bigger projects, as Crystal mentioned, such as textiles and whatnot, we have this to share. And so maybe Amy, you could walk us through this. Is this part of that bread and butter that you were?
Oh yeah, these are just perfect examples of how your business can really expand. So on the top left, you see a little baby blanket, 10 months old. I'm happy to say that is my great
Adorable.
niece. That is my
Oh, that's a
great niece.
family member? Come on, you're kidding me.
That's Madeline, and she just turned 10
That's
months.
awesome. Love
And
it.
clearly my niece went online and purchased this blanket.
Yeah.
And every month she puts that little star around a different number. And we'll see what she does after the baby turns, it passes 1 year mark. She'll probably get something else, maybe one of those height charts that you put on the wall.
Oh, right.
So there's always going to be, yeah, there's always going to be textile applications for dye sublimation that you can use in your own household. This is huge.
That's a
And then of
big
course
business.
we've got the all over shirts, which you can see.
Mhm.
The shirt on the right is kind of fun because it shows a holiday theme, which brings us to things like costumes. You know, you can just take that segment and just say, okay, you know, September's coming up, and you know, everyone jumps the gun on holidays these days. So
Right.
even though October is the end of October, even though Halloween's the end of October, people will start thinking about it in early September. And so you can help by providing them with the ability to make their own costumes by doing all over dye sublimation.
Mhm. I love the all over dye sub. It's never going away. And more businesses are incorporating it into their themed conferences. And so I was in Orlando and had a chance to speak to a small group, and they gave me a little gift bag. And of course, as is my nature, I'm looking at all of the prints and trying to figure out, you know, was this screen printed? Was this a DTG print? Was this
Right.
dye sub? But the tote bag was a dye sub tote bag. It was beautiful because we were in Orlando. So they did a theme of Orlando, and the theme was keep it fresh. Now they had oranges and citrus because of course, Florida. But their shirts, like the one on the right that I know that's Vanessa holding up, that she designed that. So it's super cute. But they kind of did something similar. I wish I would have brought that sample in, but they incorporated strategically their logo, but in a way that it wasn't like over the top. You're not like walking billboard, but it was the theme of Orlando and a few strategic patterns. It was beautiful work. I love these. And I just think that, you know, dye sub gives us that ability to go full in, full color, and really create an emotional piece. I don't know. That's just me.
And, you know, so when you're doing all over, you know that it's very difficult to get 100% of the fabric covered in dye sublimation because you have seams. It's been sewn, there are seams in place. But with a proper design of white space, you wouldn't even know that.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
so if those of you who are in DTG printing and designers, think about that. You can actually design something very simply so that the neck collar area or the underarm areas have enough white space so that the creases won't even be an issue, because that is the issue when you're dealing with already sewn products.
Correct.
Yeah.
So we've got a nice little chat from Terry. Terry agrees that the baby age blanket is a wonderful idea. He has some grandkids. I can imagine that this would warm the heart, both the photo, and then also don't forget, you can take a beautiful picture of your little one, that little toddler, that little 10 months, some, you know, and I've seen a lot of people do pillows that are custom pillows with cute little pictures of grandkids and whatnot. What grandparent is not going to want that? What great aunt is not going to want a beautiful picture of their great niece, right? So love these. These are emotional. Again, these are timely, and it speaks to that. So as we get into these blankets though, Amy, do we have everything we need to manage this process?
Well, you know, we should talk a little bit, we'll touch a little bit upon heat presses, because when you get into the larger items and the all over shirts, you are going to need larger size heat presses. So we should talk a little bit about the heat press. Do we have a little video clip of
I
that?
hope we do. And let me share my screen. And if the audio does not work, you can guide us through it.
Okay.
But I'm going to share that now and see if we can walk our way through this.
Yeah.
There it is.
We had a, okay, super. We just did a webinar with Aaron Knight from George Knight Company. And this is their maxi press. These are individual ones, by the way. These are just pictures showing them. But this video is a very quick video, and it's going to show the all over print. So you can go
Gotcha.
ahead and start
Okay.
that. Let's see if it starts.
Here we go.
There we go. There we go. So those are individual units, just so you can see what they look like. They are totally computerized. Now, what he's going to do is an all over top and bottom. So this is, this is the way to really get into production for all over shirts. First, he prints out a sheet on the bottom, and this could very well have been done on a 6370 or the larger models, because you do need it to be bigger than the shirt. Then he puts another top sheet on. And then this is a shuttle. So this will automatically slide in. And then he can be preparing another shirt on the other side of the heat press while this one is pressing. And he's pressing this for 45 seconds. And when he comes out, he's just peeling it away.
Oh, wow. Check that out. It's almost like magic.
Isn't that something?
That is cool. It's like a
That is
t-shirt. It's like a t-shirt
final.
sandwich in there, you
That's
have
the
that.
final shirt. So
That's-
yeah, that's, if you want to get into that, I would strongly suggest a dual heat platen,
Okay.
and you can really get into production on that.
Would
Of
we
course, in
use-
addition, you can be doing the larger items like blankets.
Okay, I was just gonna ask you that. Is
Yep.
this a press that would be done for a larger
Sure.
blanket?
You
Gotcha.
want for blankets, and it depends on the size of the blanket, of course. If it's a baby blanket, you can start with the 32 by 42, because that'll give you a 30-40 blanket. Or you can go up to a 44 by 64 heat press and then do everything that you need to do. There are as well calendar heat presses, which we didn't really talk much about. It's not really a heat press webinar, but the calendar heat presses are for continuous feed. So that way there's a big entry table, and then you can make it as wide as the calendar heat press and as long as you want it to be. Because the other models of printers, maybe you want to go back to that, the slide of the printers.
Yeah, let me do that. Let me go
Yeah,
back. I
let's
have to
go back
stop
and
this
talk
one.
about the bigger kids.
Here we go. Let me share my screen again. Playing all these videos, this tech, I'm not the technician that you think I might be. Okay, there it is.
So the one on the left, of course, the 7200 would be fine for that. But if you are going to get involved in high volume textiles, baby blankets, things like that, the one in the back, the 9470 or the 9470H, which is fluorescent inks, would really be a great choice, because of course it's got a dual print head and it's very fast. The color is fabulous, the black inks are a nice high density. You've got everything you need there, and that is a roll to roll. It doesn't cut. You would put it on a take-up roll underneath the printer and go right over to either a calendar press or a table and just slice them up as needed. So if you're involved with DTG, and let's say you're on your second or third F2100,
Right.
you've got a customer base there. You've got good customers, and you're doing a lot of work, and you may want to think about expanding into this area, because you can do high volumes of these items as well, and it really would pay off.
Well, let me share that next screen and see if we can get this to load again. Here's an example from our showroom, Amy. And I think you had something to do with these, because you helped Vanessa come up with a pattern like I was describing earlier, where the logo is there and it's kind of, just carried around, but really it was just to be able to show what's possible. Thank goodness you didn't try to force me to wear that. But maybe a fancy sarong, fancy wrap. I could see Terry or myself rocking the wrap. But that's it. Now which printer is this? Is that the 9470?
This is the 9470H with the fluorescent ink. So what's interesting is if you look at the mannequin on the left,
Mhm,
and you look at the paper coming out of the printer,
mhm.
they look completely different.
They definitely
However,
do. Yeah.
that's how it looked before it was pressed. So, you know, I always tell the story about when I was a kid and I had my own dark room, and I love the magic of watching the photographic print come up in the chemicals. Well,
Mhm.
this is just, if this isn't magic, nothing is, because you're taking a piece of paper that looks one way and you're transferring ink, you know, over to the fibers, and it looks completely different. Now, these are the shirt you see here. This isn't all over, and we did this in a heat press. So if we were to zoom in, which I don't think we can, but there are some small creases here and there, like under the arm area, but
Okay.
not too obvious.
Not obvious
And
at all. I
the,
wouldn't have, had you not told me, honestly, I don't think I would have known that.
right, and the sarong is a piece of chiffon.
Okay.
So let us not forget that although we know dye sublimation is a polyester-based system, and it starts with white, there is so much different polyester out there today. I mean, there is satin, and there's chiffon, and there's jerseys, you know, there's polyester that feels like cotton. So there are so many different opportunities for someone, especially somebody who's already doing direct-to-garment printing, to have that additional product offering for their clients.
Yeah, it's really where your business is going into.
Yeah.
It's like you found your lane, you found your niche, you're going to own this space, and it's doing these larger volume projects. I mean, practically creating bolts of fabric, if I'm not mistaken, right? It's like
Yep.
amazing work. So you could do pillows and blankets and other large form textiles. So wow, I think this is just a neat process, and we have clients that are doing this, and they're quite happy with the profit margins. So don't be freaked out by the size of that big printer. You know, focus on the upsides, focus on the outputs and the profits, which are there. Dye sublimation is not going away anytime soon. And I think, you know, we didn't really dive deep into the technicals, but Epson has done a tremendous amount of research with the process end to end. So meaning from the software to the ink, to the printer, to the print head, to every part that's in that thing, they look at it holistically and create phenomenal systems. So.
And that's one of the reasons for their success, and why, you know, Epson, look, when Epson comes to market with something, they make sure they have all their bases covered, and they give you a complete package. Because the best way to be successful is when one person or one manufacturer takes control and responsibility for the whole process. So you do get that with Epson. You get the ink, and you get the paper, you get the equipment, you get the printhead technology, which is second to none. You get the software. And so everything wrapped up together is why customers who are buying these dye sublimation printers are being so successful.
I love that. And I have to give a shout out to some of the wonderful supplies that are hanging on our showroom wall.
Yeah, there's pillows.
Don't forget the pillows. And the thing that caught my eye, I forgot the skateboard, the socks, a bunch of those cool metal. I guess it could be directional signage. It could be interior design signage.
Right.
It could be all kinds of applications on those metals and those woods. So good stuff, Amy. I think we're rounding third here. We're coming into home. We use our baseball terminology since baseball is back. We do have one more video that you wanted to share.
We do. I want to talk a little bit about cut and sew. Okay. So, you know, when you get to the 9470, and of course, when you get to the 170, which is the 76-inch machine, we touched on that in our previous webinar. But when you get there, these are designed for cut and sew, and for making bolts and fabric. So either way, either you already have the pattern, shape, or you're just making bolts and bolts of fabric. It's interesting because when you make a bolt of fabric, you have a unique product. You're not making 5,000 bolts of this fabric. You know, you make one bolt, you make two bolts. And so everything that's sewn with that is unique. No one else is going to have that. So this is a video clip I wanted to end with because it was a lot of fun. Epson had annually, as part of Fashion Week, they did a fashion show. This one, I believe, was in Soho, New York. You can go to the video now if you like. This one was in Soho, New York, and these are designers from all over the world. And This is dye sublimation. So it gives you an idea as to some of the things that were done. Here's someone from Paraguay and what her designs looked like. It was fascinating to see this because you really understand the potential of dye sublimation. Look at those beautiful colors and those prints. That was Haley from Canada, and there she is talking about it. Beautiful stuff, all done. That's from
Love that.
Mexico.
I'm a little
So you can
disappointed
see.
that, Amy, you didn't give me a heads up or an invitation that I wasn't able to go to this soiree, these fancy Soho parties that you like to mingle in.
I was very lucky to be invited, frankly. It was by invitation only, and it was an experience that I am really thankful that I was able to
I
enjoy.
think it's just great to see the flexibility of everything from a key tag.
Yeah,
poster for
keychain
promotion-
this big
I know, to a high-end fashion show, and it's all the same process. It's dye sublimation.
it.
So, well, what a great time we've had. Thank you for your insights, your expertise, and all of that. If I could, I'd like to just wrap up with this idea that I've had for forever, which would be, again, if I were to do this over again, and I'm an apparel decorator, kind of trying to bring it home, what would I look for? I think there's tremendous value in knowing that your printer can be purposeful and more than one purpose. So if you have an existing client base and you're doing hockey jerseys or lacrosse jerseys, and that's why you got your printer originally, okay? And that's great. You know, let's celebrate that. Let's do as many teams as we can, and let's do as many separate peripheral projects as we can to support that team, you know, and hopefully they go to the playoffs or something fun so that you have a occasional and you have these special items that you can do. But in addition to that, some days the printer isn't printing, right? So you hope that's not the case, but I think that's the reality. And so I would, if it were me, I would be looking for a consumer channel. I would be looking for a way to go direct to a consumer, and I would want to take that printer and I would find that secondary niche, that's something that I'm really passionate about, that I could easily see myself wanting to buy an accessory item, a gift item, something that I just think is cool. So I made a short list, and I was thinking about, it could be breeds of cats or dogs. Cat people and dog people, they're, you know, like the socks we showed earlier, right? If you're a French bulldog person, you know, there's no stopping it. You're already in love. Now, if I can take your French bulldog and make something for you, high dollar, you know, premium, profit, love it, love it. So dogs, cars, styles of cars. Maybe you're in, you know, like Terry Combs, you know, he I believe Terry, if I'm not mistaken, he might have to correct me, but I'm pretty sure he was at Woodstock, Amy. And so he's into guitars, he's into music. He might be into something like those old black and white photos from his era. And if he had a collection of those, he could create an online store. And it would be something where you could have that passive income as people find you and as people are ordering something to keep your printer printing. And so I don't know if that's the perfect way to end this webinar or not, but just find that lane, find that thing that you're passionate about. A lot of people are passionate about genealogy. And so maybe it's your ancestors, and maybe you're going to print these really cool old-timey photos from the late 1800s, early 1900s. Again, whatever you're into, and create that online store and have that passive income rolling through to keep yourself profitable and your printer printing. So I wanted to end on that tip and then throw it back to you for anything else before we wrap up.
What I would say is direct to garment printing and dye sublimation together are so powerful because you want for nothing. You can do and create and sell your clients just about anything when you have both technologies. That's my parting shot there. That's
a great parting shot. Let's see if we can advance my slides so we can get back to sharing this. So if people aren't aware, we do record these. I hope you know that. That's a big part of why we do these training webinars, is to make sure that we have content that we can share on our YouTube channel. So I'm going to share that slide right now, and then give you the last say as well as to how people can get in touch with you if they have any other questions. So remember, folks, this was recorded, and in the next, I don't know, 24 to 48 hours, you'll be able to see this will be uploaded if you want to watch again. But if you have any specific questions, if you want to reach out to Amy, Amy is one of our subject matter experts on dye sublimation and apparel decoration. And so Amy, this is the contact info. Is there any other way that you would like to share on how people can get in touch with you or the rest of our team?
Well, we'd love for you to either email us or call us at the office. You can contact Terry Combs, you can contact me or Tim Allen, and we would be happy to talk with you further about anything you saw in this webinar or any of the other webinars that we've done. We're here
Love
to
that.
help you.
We are here to help. And Amy, you've done a great job today. Thank you again. And I know that from time to time, you're even able to do some samples. It takes some coordination. Obviously, it's not something we're just going to do, randomly. But if you have questions and Amy can help you with a sample, show you what's possible, I think that would be a fabulous way to find out if this is a fit or not.
Yeah, sure thing. Love to do them for you.
All right. Well, everybody, thank you so much. We appreciate your time. We appreciate you tuning in today. Another webinar, another Equipment Zone training event. We hope we shared some ideas and you could feel our passion for dye sublimation printing. Thank you to the comments and those of you that shared some chat with us. Otherwise, it's time for us to say goodbye, and I'll say goodbye to you, Amy. Thank you.
Bye, Jay. Thanks
Bye.
for joining, everybody. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.